Hey everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn. On this episode, I'm really excited to have with me legendary bassist Billy Sheehan. Of course, you know him from the various bands he's played in over the years, whether it's David Lee Roth, Mr. Big, the Winery Dogs, Talas, or Sons of Apollo. So I think you guys are going to really enjoy this episode. During our chat, Billy shares with me recording plans for both Talas and the Winery Dogs. He also gives us some details on how he was just seconds away from reuniting with David Lee Roth a few years ago. I think you guys will really enjoy hearing all of his stories. At one point, he even takes his bass out that he recorded the Eat 'Em and Smile album with, and he plays a little bit for us. What an amazing surprise. Thanks so much, Billy. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. Now, without further ado, let's get started with my conversation with the one, the only, Mr. Billy Sheehan. Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn. Today I am super excited to have one of the greatest bass players of all time with me on the show. You know him from David Lee Roth, from Mr. Big, the Winery Dogs, and others. Please welcome to the show, Billy Sheehan. How you doing, Billy?
You were very kind to say all that. Thank you very much.
It's very true. And you know what? It's funny because obviously a lot of people first knew you, especially in the rock scene with David Lee Roth. But I had to take this out. I'm sure you remember this here, right?
Sure do.
And I love this band. And I guess that's a great place to start. Am I right in saying you guys just signed another contract to record a new album?
Yeah, we're going to do a record. We've got the most everything done. We have to, unfortunately, the virus thing is ruining everything.
Of course, of course.
So we're doing, fortunately, we got together, did all the drums. We're all in the same room, so we're really locked in.
Sure.
Now, now it's just to do vocals. We got some new software that enables us to do, for me to have the singer in Toronto, Phil Narrow, and I can hear him in real time on my computer.
Okay.
And then see him on a second computer with Zoom.
Nice. And
we can talk and make sure we got all the lyrics right and everything.
Awesome.
So we'll get it. It's slow going, but we'll have it done, and we're excited about it. We got Mitch Perry to come in and play in a couple songs too, original guitar player.
Nice.
That we had in that lineup. And we're trying to get Johnny Angel, the guy we got to replace him, to do a song also. We're not sure about the logistics of that yet. We're going to give it a try. It'd be cool.
Awesome.
So
now,
L'Amour's all over again.
And you know what? I grew up in Brooklyn, so L'Amour's, L'Amour's is my thing. So I lived like a mile or two from there. So I obviously, like you just said, we're in a quarantine situation. People are at home. Do you have a rough target for when you hope to have the album done?
Oh, we could probably get it done in about another 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Including mixes, I guess.
Nice.
You know, so we once we get everything there, I started a production team in here in Nashville, where I'm living now. Myself and drummer Ray Lugier, he plays with Korn. He's a dear friend of mine, and he's got another friend of his, Scott Bush, who used to play with the Nixons, and he's a great engineer, recording guy. So we put a team together to record records and of other artists and just make record music for people. So we're in the middle of about 3 or 4 records right now.
Okay, wow.
It's going along very smoothly. So, and plus like a zillion other tracks for people here and there.
Sure.
So it keeps us busy. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Now I'm assuming it's too early still for a title for the album.
There is, but I'm not going to tell you yet.
Fair enough. I understand that. You got to save something, right? So,
but it will reflect exactly the whole purpose behind the record.
That's awesome. Very awesome. Now, the band originally started in Buffalo. Is that correct?
Yeah, we started in Buffalo with a different lineup than the lineup on that record.
Sure.
We call that the version 2 Talas.
Right.
Even though there was probably 10 versions of
Talas.
Really?
Okay.
Through the years. I'm going to try to do a family tree of everybody that was ever in the band.
Nice.
Because I always get email from somebody, yeah, my cousin Frank played in Talas. I never looked to my right or left and saw anybody named Frank. So, it's funny.
That's very
funny. Yeah, started in Buffalo 71 or 2.
Wow. Okay.
And we started just being a bar band, playing copy tunes. A bunch of personnel changes through. Well, the one version just prior to this is a 3-piece Talas. That was the one that toured with Van Halen, and we did our very first record together, and the Sink Your Teeth into that record. And that
great song, by the way. That Sink Your Teeth into that. Love that song.
Thanks a million. Yeah. Thank you. Very kind. So we, the 2 guys left me holding the bag, and I had to keep the crew guys employed. So I got together with the amazing drummer Mark Miller, who's as good as ever.
Right.
He's amazing. Singer Phil Narrow, and initially the guitarist Mitch Perry.
Okay.
Then he was replaced by a guy named Johnny Angel. And now we have a guy named Kiri who plays with us. He's from Rochester, New York, because Mitch is on the West Coast. So. Okay. But he's done a bunch of shows with us, and he does a hell of a fine job covering the guitar part. So that's good.
Excellent. So now you just mentioned how the band toured with Van Halen. Was that your introduction and how you met Dave Lee Roth originally?
Yeah, we started with them. I think it was like Bismarck, South Dakota, or North Dakota. I forgot which Dakota it's in. I apologize to the Dakotans out there, northern and southern. But I remember we were in the dressing room the first show. And the dressing room was kind of L-shaped. So where I was sitting, I could see the door, but the room curved, and no one else could see the door but me. Okay. And we didn't meet the band or anything like that. We're huge Van Halen fans. We believe we're on tour with Van Halen. Unbelievable.
Right. And which tour was this?
What was that?
Which tour was this?
1980 Invasion.
Nice. Okay, continue. Sorry.
And the door opens and Eddie walks in. And the guys told me later, you should have seen the look on your face. And I looked over. The first thing he said was, "Which one of you guys is Billy Sheehan?"
Oh, no.
Me! I am. Right. So he's a wonderful guy. And it's great. They all were great. Sure. I love all those guys so much. And it was a PhD in showbiz 101. Unbelievable. Absolutely. Just to watch them. On their worst night, they were merely spectacular.
No, 100%. That's so true about the band. So go ahead.
No, it was just an amazing experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So when did you find out then that Dave Lee Roth was leaving Van Halen and looking for a bass player and looking to put together a band?
Not until he asked me.
Okay.
Because I was coming out. My office got a call from his office. Sounds pretty. Our office. Don't be impressed.
Okay.
But and they said Dave wanted to talk to me about being in his movie.
I remember that.
What? So we were going out to L.A. to start a tour with Yngwie, Talas and Yngwie, summer of '85. And so I said, well, I'm coming out there anyway, so we can meet up with him then. Okay, great. And so they made the appointment, and I get out there and went over to Dave's house and said, wow, what's you're making a movie? He goes, yeah, there's a movie, but that's the cover story, and you can't tell anybody anything. I go, what do you mean? He goes, I quit Van Halen. I want to start a band. So let's you and me go find a guitar player and a drummer and start a band. I said, I'd always said to people, I'd never leave Talas for any band except if I got asked to join Van Halen.
Okay.
And David Lee Roth, close enough.
Next best thing, right? Absolutely.
So I was gone, and that was that. And it was the beginning of an amazing adventure.
Absolutely. And, that's one of the things as a fan at that time. Obviously, Van Halen breaks up. Well, David Lee Roth leaves Van Halen, and David Lee Roth puts together a new band. And I remember thinking to myself, David Lee Roth's new band, and I'm not just saying this because I'm chatting with you, rivals and could go toe-to-toe with Van Halen, right? Steve Vai on guitar, yourself on bass, Greg Bisonet on drums. What a tremendous band that was.
Well, thank you. We have a great brotherhood between us all, myself, Steve, Greg, and our keyboard player, Brett. Sure, we are all still very, very good friends, and Dave is still our hero. But I love Van Halen, so it was bittersweet. As much as I was so happy to get a break in my career like that, man, I hated to see Van Halen not be Dave,
sure.
Mike, Al, and Ed.
Sure.
So that was the sad part. But nevertheless, that's how life goes sometimes.
Absolutely. Now, you said you had met Eddie on tour. Did Eddie ever talk to you when you were in the Dave Lee Roth band? Any comments about that from him?
No, I didn't speak with him until maybe a couple months after I was out.
Okay.
We had a phone conversation, and it was a "see, I told you so."
Right.
But I don't look at it. Dave was great to me. Dave was generous, and sad to see the Van Halens and Dave. And,
Agreed.
I hate to see that because I love them all. And
Agreed.
I wish they were all. I've dealt with people before in bands, and when you break up, it's ugly sometimes. It's just how it is, and then let a little time go by and you're friends again.
Absolutely.
It's not necessary. And at my age now and their age now, we're all grown up people, so roll with it.
Right.
Just,
Absolutely.
But that's my life. I can't run anyone else's.
So
and I
true.
Don't intend to,
So true. Now, to that point, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, there was a lot of rumors that the Dave Lee Roth band was going to get back together again. And I think it was a show at the Whiskey, if I remember right. And there was a huge crowd there. And then the show got stopped from the fire marshal. What happened that night?
Well, it's the Lucky Strike Bowling Alley has a jam on Tuesday nights.
Oh, okay.
And it's a true jam. You can't bring any of your own gear. You get up on stage, you plug in, and you go. You unplug, next band up, plug in, and go.
Nice.
So it's real men have to play it because and women, and because it's you can't go up there and putz around with your monitor checks, and there's no sound check, no nothing. Throw and go.
Nice.
Get up there and play.
Okay.
So they wanted Steve and I to come, and Greg was available. So it's great. And so that we're going to get Ralph from Steel Panther.
Okay. Yep.
To come and sing. And
Great
then
singer.
I'm not sure who said it, but I wonder if Dave's in town. So give him a call. Sure enough, he was, and he said yes. So we had to explain to Ralph, sorry, Ralph, but somebody else is going to sing. And it was a total surprise. It wasn't announced, though word leaked out.
Right.
And they overfilled the place. It was free admission.
Right.
And they should have stopped it at the 600 legal limit. They'll let them get away with 7 or 750, but there's about 1,200 people in there.
Wow. Ooh.
And a line down the street all the way to Hollywood Boulevard. So no surprise, the fire department found out about it, and bang. We were on stage ready to go, and there's a curtain in front of the stage, open stage pen, on stage, ready to go. And I saw flashlights, and I said, so we thought, well, maybe if we just play a few notes and get the crowd excited, the fire department will understand. So I played a couple bass notes. One of the fire department guys looked to the curtain. One more note and somebody's going to jail.
Oh, no.
Okay, thank you. We're out. But the good thing about it is me, Steve, and Greg, and Brett, and Dave got to hang out after that in the back area just to talk, and we had a great time. So sorry we couldn't play, but,
Right. And was that hang like, I'll say, the good old days? Was it like 86, 87 all over again?
It was so great. So great to see Dave. He was doing great. And we just, we were all over the moon about it. It was great just to hang there.
Absolutely.
But,
So in the last, before the coronavirus hit and all touring stopped, I had actually seen Dave a few times opening up for Kiss. And his new band is really good. So nothing I say is a disrespect to them. Was there any talk ever of, hey, maybe we could get the classic Dave Lee Roth band lineup back together again? Or was that just a one-time, didn't work out, that's it?
Well, it's up to Dave. If he wants to do it. I know myself, Steve, and Greg, and Brett, we would love to do it. So it's his name on the marquee. So
of course, right.
It's not my call.
Right, absolutely.
I would love to do it. I think just because, man, it would make a lot of people happy.
Absolutely.
A lot of the reunions I've done recently, like this Talas version 2, we're doing the record with and stuff. We got together. You should have seen the emails we got from people. We played down at the Iridium in New York, and people came out of the woodwork to see the band from the old days. So great. Why? I would love to. I would love to do it for many reasons, but primarily it'd make a lot of people happy.
Oh, absolutely. I think the fans would love it. To me, that Eat 'em and Smile album is a classic. I love it. One of the best albums of the 80s. What do you remember about recording that album? Does anything stick out to you?
Yeah, Ted Templeman was a producer. He's got a book out now.
Yep.
I'm just started reading it. He was great. And we were really a band, really in the studio, actually playing for real. You know, tape, no digital, no fixes, nothing. Right. It was the real thing.
Absolutely.
And because we were all in the same room playing, it really had a great vibe and feel and atmosphere to it that is kind of undeniable. As far as me looking back on the 30 years plus of response to it. And I still get email from somebody almost every single day, a couple, where people, you know, are asking me about their record or talking about their record or say they got the record on or they show me their fifth copy because they wore out the other. So it's a pretty great thing. I'm very grateful to have rolled into that situation, and supremely grateful to the people that have listened to it and enjoyed it, and that's what it's all about.
Now, speaking of that album and specifically the bass playing, you know, the song "Elephant Gun." How in the world? There's a whole bass solo in the middle of that, which, like, I listened to that, and I'm still like, how? How is that even possible to play like that? What do you remember about doing that part of that song?
Well, Elephant Gun had a lick in it. If you'll excuse me, I'll get a bass and show you what I'm talking about. Hold
Absolutely.
on.
Sure.
I'm playing my new 12-string bass.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
It's a Music Vox Space Cadet.
Very nice.
Pretty crazy.
Looks great.
But actually, the original bass I used was right here. This is the wife.
Wow, so that's the one you recorded with?
That's the one. I played everything up till I got my first Yamaha.
Okay.
But it had a lick in it. Which is a Steve Vai lick. So in the middle of one little break, Steve would play that lick. We're rehearsing in Dave's basement. And Dave came down and said, yeah, that's cool. Billy, you double it. Uh-oh. So, Steve, how does that go? So he showed me. And it was just kind of a, you know, you get kind of a freedom with music when you're writing it. That was one cool thing. Me, Steve, and Greg would be down in the basement. And where Van Halen rehearsed down there. I'm sure I saw a bunch of Ed's old cabinets and stuff down there. And Dave would be upstairs, you know, doing business and whatever. He had moved his office into a part of his home, so he had all the people working for him up there. And we'd be down there, and Dave would come down and says, yeah, that's cool. Keep that. No, give me a chorus. Go back upstairs, and we go, well, what do we for a chorus? I'll try this. Go, yeah, that's a good chorus. Now give me a bridge and 2 more choruses. You know, and he basically put almost that whole record together in that fashion. You know, we came in with ideas, but Dave coordinated it all. It was pretty cool. So writing it was, and then the most fun part of it was the hang, because the hang is supremely important for bands. Anybody out there in a band, if you get great players, but you can't hang with them, it's life will get ugly fast.
Of course.
You know, it's just not cool. So Dave had in his garage, he had a whole bunch of leftover beer from the US Festival.
Oh, wow.
Now he lives in Pasadena, so it's pretty hot out there. 110. In the garage, it must be 100. So the beer was all skunk. It was all past its expiration. But we didn't care. We said, go on, grab us a couple beers. And we'd be drinking the skunk beer and telling stories. Dave would tell us about his adventures, and Greg would tell us stories of him playing early days and all the things he's done. Steve with his years of Frank Zappa and all my shenanigans and stuff. We had a riot. We had such a great time. So the hang was almost as great as the music part of it. That was really cool.
Nice. Now, what about, like, for you? Obviously, Talas was more of a hard rock band. Now, all of a sudden, you with Dave Lee Roth, and he's doing, I'll say, like, lounge type songs, like That's Life. You know, how were you with that style of music? Did you like that before working with Dave?
I'm a huge Sinatra fan.
Nice.
And in the years with Talas, we did all kinds of music. We started out, one of the first songs we ever played was Danny's song.
Okay.
By who was it to duet to sing it? Even though we ain't got money. Loggins of Messina.
Yes.
And we played Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Okay, I never realized that.
Young and all kinds of stuff. So, and I love all kinds of music. I was a little bit of a jazz guy in high school, but I got into rock. I was always into rock, but I wavered to jazz a little bit, enough to get a taste of it. But yeah, I love that stuff. And I don't like unithought. They must only play this kind of music only, and that's all we'll ever play. I like that. And I always, it's always surprising to people what guys in heavy bands listen to.
Sure, exactly.
Because mostly I have the classical music station on. That's the only station I have tuned in on my car radio.
Nice.
Put classical music on. That's all I do.
Nice.
Because I do like the musicianship of it and what the emotional aspect of it. But yeah, I love that stuff. We did heavy stuff. I like the broad bandwidth approach too, because when record companies, when the music business became the music industry, a big step, they were more concerned with sales than anything else because they had to answer to corporate people. So when a band put on a record, they want this unified, homogenized style.
Sure.
So they can target their market.
Right.
You don't want anything that sticks out because that's not going to fit with that market. So then bands became kind of homogenized. Albums became kind of homogenized. They only do this thing. But back prior to that, in the 70s and such, you had all over the map stylistic changes. Some of the Led Zeppelin stuff, they do the Rain song.
Of course.
That one song that's almost like a country picking bluegrass song. And all kinds of, and super heavy and acoustic piece and all over the place. Beatles too, they did all kinds of styles, and everyone did. So unfortunately, I think that's a little bit of that flavor in the Eat 'Em and Smile record, where we could do a couple different things. Get heavy.
Yep.
I love heavy music.
Right.
But I also love Sinatra.
Awesome. So how did Shy Boy come into the David Lee Roth, right? Because obviously you'd recorded that previously. So how did that song become a David Lee Roth song also?
Dave liked it and wanted to do it. So I said, okay.
Okay. Simple enough.
Yeah, it was cool. And he was very, very generous. I mean, a lot of times when a guy is the main guy and, people didn't know who the heck I was at that point, he could buy rights and rightfully, and often happens, take the publishing money or take half of it or even take all of it. Say, yeah, I'll put your record on your song on my record, but I want all the publishing. You have to make, do I want a song on a platinum record and get nothing for it? Or do I want no song on a platinum record?
Sure.
Get nothing for it. So, but he let me have all my publishing, very generous, very cool about it, which was a great boost to my life and times to get income at that time. So he was very generous with me on it. So that was really wonderful. He changed one part of it. In the original version, the solo section is in the same key as the verses and chorus, but he moved it down to the relative minor, which I thought was good because it gave it, and when you come back to it, it was a really a wise, better arrangement. So he gets an arranger's credit.
I was just going to say, so now you've cleared up for me, because if I remember right, it has you as the writing credit, but then it says, like in parentheses, arrangement David Lee Roth, and I've always wondered why. So it was the solo part there.
We went from the D major to the B minor, and it worked out great. And that whenever I do it that way now. I think it's a better way.
Right. So I was going to ask you, if you were going to choose one version, the original Talas version or the David Lee Roth, which one do you choose?
That's a tough. I got to go with Dave. I mean, I love the Talas guys. Right. The original version that we recorded with that version of Talas was a great band, and those guys were supreme talents. But David is David Lee Roth.
Of course. Right. So you mentioned before the hang and how it was good recording the album. What was it like out on tour with Dave and the band?
We had a riot. We had a lot of fun. We never anything stupid or disrespectful, though. And I'm not saying that because of the Me Too movement and stuff like that. Because there, a lot of fun. Everyone was a willing participant, and everyone was treated with respect. And way back in those days, some of the young ladies that I had the honor of hanging with and meeting and spending time with, they're still my friends.
Nice.
They got grandkids now, but they're still my friends. I see them on Facebook. We say hello, and it's a cool thing. So we had a raucous time, but it was always tempered with respect and some degree of sanity.
Right.
And there were two buses: Dave's bus, and our bus, the band, and we were free to do whatever the heck we wanted, and we really enjoyed ourselves. It was a great time. That people might disbelieve that or whatever. I'm a non-drugger almost my whole life. I smoked dope a bit when I was in high school.
Okay.
That was it. I quit, and I haven't even had an aspirin since 1971.
Wow.
So I never tried cocaine. I don't do anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my personal choice. You know, if you happen to do whatever you do,
to each their own. Mm-hmm.
You're still my friend, and that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But so we were very sensible on the bus, because we had a job to do, and that's like that's like getting up into a UFC fight every single night.
Oh yeah.
Crawl into the octagon. We pushed it hard, and we were drenched with sweat, and we sang and played. It was a sweat fest. It was a heavy physical gig. So I couldn't have been. Do a lot of drinking or anything else and managed to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I remember I went to that tour. I remember seeing a show. I think it was Madison Square Garden, if I remember right. And the stage was very bright, colorful. You guys are running all over the place. But one of the things I remember, and I said this before, you obviously had toured with Van Halen. You were a Van Halen fan, and now you're playing some Van Halen songs in concert, right? And I think it was like Unchained and Panama. You Really Got Me. And talking about as a fan previously and now in a band, what was that like for you playing those classic Van Halen songs?
Mind blowing. We worked on the record and recorded the record, and everything was done, and we're ready to start rehearsals for the tour. And we did it at a place called Perkins Palace in Pasadena. It was like a 2,000-seater, and we locked it out for a couple of weeks. We went in there. And we're on stage, and of course, me, Steve, and Greg, and Brett. That's when we hired Brett too. Mm-hmm. He came in, and we learned all the songs. We went over them a bunch of times before Dave got there, and so we're on stage, and I'm singing the harmonies in "I'm on Fire," and Dave is next to me singing. And just then it dawned on me, I'm in a band with David Lee Roth.
Right, and that's some harmony in that song.
So my head exploded, and it was pretty amazing.
Right.
Because we toured with them, so we saw them. I must have seen them 40 times.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Prior to that, so it was just so great.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I'm very, very grateful.
And obviously in the 80s, everybody was making videos for MTV, and the David Lee Roth Band, to me, had the best videos pretty much in heavy metal, right? And Dave's a character, obviously, but it was the great, I'll say, interaction between him being a character and the band live performances. What do you remember about doing those videos? Anything?
Oh, they were a lot of work, because we'd have to do 20 takes where you got to be on your toes and at full speed. Mm-hmm. So it was, and the lights are twice as hot, and so a lot of work to do them. But it's fun. It's enjoyable. I mean, we, there's times when you got to be all business because you got to get the gig done. Mm-hmm. So we went in there with that idea, but we still enjoyed it. It was fun, and to see, Mr. Nobody. I was a little band called Talas on Buffalo. Next thing you know, it was a #1 MTV video. Sure. It was quite a jump. Right. So I was very, very happy about that.
So the second record comes along, Skyscraper, and things seem to start to fall apart a little bit with the band. What happened there?
Well, it just, I don't really know all the details, but I surmise that, Dave had a vision of how he wanted the record to be. Mm-hmm. And I always say, if that record would have been a huge hit, we all would have been saying how brilliant Dave was to have done it.
Of course, right. Mm-hmm.
But you take... There's no risk, no reward. He took a risk. He took a chance. Mm-hmm. Let's make it a little bit more dance oriented. Mm-hmm. And if it would have worked, it would have been amazing.
Sure.
I'll explain that to some degree with the AC/DC Back in Black record. Mm-hmm. A lot of those beats with the single bass drum, those are disco beats.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
In a way, but it's hard rock, heavy metal. So they managed to, almost without anyone noticing it, to mix those two together. Pretty amazing.
Sure.
So that was pretty cool. So Dave could have very much done the same thing. It's just unfortunately the wrong place at the wrong time or whatever. It didn't didn't catch on. Mm-hmm. It could have, but it just didn't. And I think a lot of the people that like the Eat 'Em Smile record noticed there was a slickness to the Skyscraper, which was intentional. Mm-hmm. And which would have been great. I mean, it was all direct bass. I don't think I ever plugged into an amp.
Okay.
It was direct. So it's hard to speculate on why sometimes. There's a million reasons that make a record a hit record. Mm-hmm. million reasons why records that you never hear of. There's why you don't hear them.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be anywhere along the line, the chain, that something can fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Dave was very wise and took a chance, and I give him great credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
You can play formula. You got something that works, let's just keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
David Bowie did it. David Bowie had Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars and walked away from it.
Yep, true.
Walked away.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Gabriel at Genesis peak walked away.
Mm-hmm.
So he took a chance, and I give him credit for that. But such is life. It didn't go as well as it could have.
Right.
But I didn't. It wasn't a enjoyable time for me because I was basically not doing my normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
What I do, I did in Eat 'Em and Smile on that tour. That's what I did in Talas too.
Sure.
So now it's a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bit, and I don't mind playing in a situation where I have to do what I'm told to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind that at all. But I didn't have a real faith in the direction.
Right.
But I could have very well have been totally wrong.
Mm-hmm. And to Dave's credit, I mean, he did end up with a really popular song, just like Paradise, from that album, right? And also, if I'm not mistaken, is the song Hot Dog and a Shake, wasn't that like one of the very first songs you guys ever jammed with before the band even recorded the first album?
I don't recall that particularly.
Okay. I've read that Greg auditioned to that song, so I don't know if that's true.
No, I don't believe that was around then.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
I might be wrong.
No, hey, look, it's a long time ago, and half of what you read on the internet's not true anyway, so certainly don't take my word on that.
90% is untrue.
That's true. That's true. Sorry, so you also...
The other 10% we still don't know.
It's up in the air, that's right. So you leave the Dave Lee Roth band, and then you hit it, I'll say, in some ways even bigger, right? No pun intended there. So how did you end up joining Mr. Big?
Well, I wanted to put a band together. I knew Paul Gilbert.
Mm-hmm.
He used to come see me play in Talas when he was a little kid.
Yeah, okay.
Remember, there's the tallest guy in the room, so I remember seeing him in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
I knew Pat Torpey. I'd seen him play. I knew he was a solid citizen, a great voice, great drummer.
Mm-hmm.
And before I actually confirmed with those two guys, I was looking for a singer, and I found Eric Martin.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I found a manager by the name of Herbie Herbert.
Okay.
Key element to the whole thing. Because Herbie was one of the founding fathers of what we know as the music business today.
Okay.
I believe, I might be wrong on this, I believe Herbie Herbert was the guy who said, why don't we sell T-shirts at the show with the band's name on them?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I went to see Hendrix. There was no merch.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
It didn't exist.
Right.
At some point, somebody said that, and that's how Winterland started.
Mm-hmm.
Which was one of the biggest merch companies in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those guys, it was just one of the founding fathers of so much that is the music business. And so him as the manager of Mr. Big was our totally golden key to a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He got us the Rush tour, the Scorpions tour, the Aerosmith tour, the Bryan Adams tour.
Mm-hmm.
He's best friends with the promoter in Japan, who got us into Japan.
Okay.
And he was just really a wonderful, wonderful man who really helped us along. But we also had a band that seemed to function pretty well.
Absolutely.
And people did enjoy, and that you can't, without that, we would have had nothing. So
right.
With that and a great manager, we managed to score a #1 single.
Mm-hmm.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah, and before that #1 single came about, I remember, if I'm not mistaken, the first video was Addicted to That Rush. And I remember as soon as I heard that, there was that bass again, and crazy bass playing. I was like, there's the Billy Sheehan we all love. So what do you remember about that song and recording that crazy bass line?
Well, I had that title for years.
Did you?
I had
Okay.
books of titles.
Uh-huh.
No song,
Mm-hmm.
just the title. Sounds like it's the song title. So
Mm-hmm.
write down the titles. And I've since hung out with some great songwriters, and a lot of people do that.
Mm-hmm.
They take little snippets. They just take a little Post-it note and write down some little lyric, put in the thing, and eventually that stuff becomes song. So I had that title for years and years, way back in Buffalo. And then I just we were kind of playing a kind of a fast boogie, and it came to mind.
Mm-hmm.
So then the song kind of wrote itself after that, as far as the lyrics and what the story was about.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys liked it, and Eric did a bang-up job singing it. Pat killed it, Paul killed it, and Paul and I wanted to do a couple little guitar thingies just for the hell of it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times those things are often to give the singer a rest too.
Mm-hmm. Right, of course.
The singer's got these two little thin flaps of skin called the vocal cords. Get as much a break as possible.
Right.
So a lot of the guitar solos and bass solos really were almost designed to, especially when we're doing a lot of shows on the road and you're on tour, you can't cancel shows. You just get in so much trouble with that. So a lot of that stuff was designed that way. But it was fun to do, and it was another feature of the band. The band also had the feature of the songwriting, which I feel was very, very strong, and the vocals, which were very, very, very strong too, and all the harmonies we did as well. So we had a lot of good components. By luck, it came together, and again, by luck and the skill of our manager, we managed to be successful with it.
Yeah, and to me, you just hit the nail on the head. There was some great songwriting in that band, and there was a great melodic sense also. So you guys had the hard rock songs, but then there were songs like "Just Take My Heart" and obviously the big hit "To Be With You" and other songs like that were very melodic and maybe a little different than the Van Halen, David Lee Roth type stuff. And did you enjoy having like that melodic element of the band?
Yeah, because back in the original version of Talas, we sang our asses off. We did Carry On, Wayward Son, we did Crosby, Stills and Nash, and Neil Young, Grand Funk Railroad, tons of Three Dog Night, all these heavy singing, and there was just three of us singing all three parts, guitar, bass, and drum. So I love that tradition. We brought it into Mr. Big, very much so. And all of us like vocal music. I mean, I always tell young guitar players and bass players, sing. You got a voice, sing. Even if you're not that good, get to the mic and sing. Because if I got to hire a guitar player, bass player, drummer, the person says, just sing. Okay, we're good. Because you need that voice. You need those harmonies. People love singing. And I love songs with singing. When you see American Idol or The Voice or any of those shows, you don't see any bass players, drummers, or guitar players. You see singers, and it's about singing a lot, So I love great rock with great singing. That's how we incorporated it in there. It meant a lot to our audience too, because I know when I go out, I like a lot of instrumental music, but I almost, if there's people over or you're hanging out, you'll almost always gravitate to something you sing. Guitar sitting there, is in a, so Ticket to Ride or a Beatles song or a bunch of Stones and whatever. It's kind of people kind of gravitate towards that. I love that, and I love to play wacky bass stuff and solo, and I love some jazz stuff and things like that. But vocals, we really had a good situation with Mr. Big.
Yeah, and to me, one of the best harmonies in rock was the song "Green Tinted 60s Mind." I think that's a great the melody, the harmonies. It's I'll say damn near perfect in my opinion.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you. We would rehearse that at this great rehearsal place in North Hollywood where everybody went. It wasn't a fancy place, but everybody rehearsed there. Guns N' Roses rehearsed and wrote their second record there. Van Halen was there. Tom Jones, David Bowie, everybody went there. And so we were in one of the small rooms, and our singer was still in San Francisco. He was going to come meet us in a week. We could go over all the songs of the tour first, then be all ready for him when he got there. So we've been there singing all the background vocals, and somebody knock on the door and go, what sample are you guys using? I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, the vocals. What sample are you using? No, we're singing it. He goes, no, the sample when you. I go, no, we're not singing it because they're just hearing the background vocals with no lead singer.
Right.
They didn't think so. They didn't believe us, so we had to actually play the song.
Right.
I swear to God, it's us.
that is amazing. So now in Mr. Big, obviously you were a much more active songwriter again. Was that something important to you as you were starting to put together Mr. Big, as you wanted to become active again as a songwriter? Dave, you really, except for Shy Boy, you had no songwriting credits.
No, not necessarily. Those things kind of just happen. Prior to Skyscraper, I wasn't really, I worked with Steve and Greg and Brett putting all the songs together in Dave's basement. So I got the demos on tape. And I added parts, but I didn't bring any full songs in myself, but no particular reason or other. It's just how sometimes. And I wasn't necessarily looking to be the writer, I'm glad when someone else brings something in and it's fantastic. I never put too much attention on that.
fair enough. And then obviously you alluded to it before, the big radio hit, To Be With You, right? So that was all over the radio. I think it was like 91, early 92 time period, if I got my timeline.
Yes, sir.
Right. So, that must have been great for you after all those years. You said you started in the 70s, and now you have a big smash hit like that.
Yeah, pretty amazing. And it really changes your life.
Sure.
I wish everyone could have a hit single because it's an amazing transition. We would, we'd get on a plane to fly somewhere, and of course we were back there in a little economy class, and stewardess, they called them stewardesses, now they're flight attendants. They come back and say, "Are you guys in a band or something?" I go, "Yeah." "What's the band's name?" "Mr. Big." "Never heard of it." "You got a song?" I go, "Yeah, the one that moves up to first class and a drink for free, and the pilot would come back and take it. It was amazing."
Sure.
So we showed up in Indonesia, and right on the little thing you fill out for customs and immigration, it says right on it in red letters, "Warning, mandatory death sentence to drug traffickers."
Oh boy.
Right on there. Uh-huh. And and Indonesia is a very conservative country. There's not a lot of people with long hair, or there wasn't then. Back in the 90s, we had a hit record. And so we're flying into Indonesia, and I had heard before it's an Islamic country, so there's a little stricter social code there.
Sure.
So the flight lands, and we're pulling up to the gate, and the door opens, and the customs guys come right onto the plane in their uniforms.
Sure. Oh wow.
And I'm thinking, oh boy, I hope they don't think we're because we're a rock band.
Right. The long hair, big trouble.
So, because we're far from home.
It's so true.
And they all came in the radio. They wanted our autograph.
Oh, nice.
They escorted us off the flight, and we didn't even go through customs and immigration. We went right out. God knows what we could have had in our bags, but we did, of course.
Right.
But it was pretty amazing. And then we were on the Tonight Show. We were on there one time. Then we went back again and played again, and Jay Leno had it then, and he invited us to sit. And I sat in chair number 1 on the Tonight Show. So my mom could finally be proud of me.
That's it. So were your parents supportive when you were younger of wanting to pursue music and do that?
My mom was. My real father, not so much. My stepfather was. But once you have some success, everybody changes their mind.
And once you're on Jay Leno, everybody changes their mind.
I knew from the beginning that.
Of course. So now 92 comes along, and the music scene totally changes, right? So you've gone from David Lee Roth, big band, Mr. Big being big, and Nirvana hits, and really changes the whole landscape of music. What were your thoughts at that time, and what are your thoughts as you look back on that?
Well, I'm glad we didn't change to fit. We just kept doing what we did. And we were very lucky getting a very smart management, and we played internationally a lot. South America, Southeast Asia, Japan, all over Europe. And so we had a huge international market. Now, the phenomena that happened in the USA with grunge was an interesting thing, and it did happen to a large degree around the world, but not to the degree that it did in America.
Sure.
So in Japan, Mr. Big, I forgot which record it was, the record that came out, I think it was Bump Ahead, our third record. We outsold, the actual statistic was we outsold Pearl Jam 40-1.
Oh, wow. So,
and the Japanese were kind of puzzled about the grunge thing. Like, why is everybody, why is everybody angry and sad?
Right.
But I liked a lot of that music. And I really, as odd as it might sound, I was kind of glad that they tore apart what was going on, because it's getting this automatic thing.
Sure.
Band would get their hairdresser and their stylist and put their songs together, do their record, go on tour, repeat, and it's like, well, wait a minute. There's no natural coming up through the ranks and fans' point of view being listened to. MTV was kind of force feeding it on people, and it was just way too corporate. That's what I said before about the music. It was the music industry, not the music business anymore.
Right.
So as bad as it was for us business-wise, I couldn't help but say, it had to happen. Kind of had to happen.
Right.
And a lot of bands, they started changing the way they looked and the way they played. Some of them got away with it, some of them didn't. But we just kind of stuck with what we did, and we had a hit in that in that period, Wild World, the Cat Stevens remake, was quite a big hit for us, and worldwide it was really big too. So we were fine. We did okay. I was glad to see a new class, a new wave of bands coming in and hearing some flavors that because things were just becoming too that same snare sound with a big digital reverb on it, and then Nirvana comes along and they're just playing, and there's mics up, and they're not really worried about
sure.
their guitar racks and digital reverbs and stuff,
Right.
So I did think the world needed that.
Right, absolutely. And what I was going to say is, to me, and you just mentioned Wild World, to me, I know it's a cover tune, but when I think of that song, I think Mr. Big. It's the definitive version to me of that song.
That's all right. A lot of people, when they hear "You Really Got Me," they think of Van Halen.
So true. So true.
Those things happen. But we love the Cats. I was a big Cat Stevens fan. In fact, I loved a lot of his songs. Catch Bullet 4, one of my favorite records. Great stuff.
What made you guys decide to cover that song? Was it just, hey, I'm a fan, I want to do it, or did the record company say it?
The record company was a little pissy that we didn't have another "To Be With You" on the record.
Okay.
We don't really want to play that game. I have a "To Be With You" on every record, and then we'll put the acoustic ballad out first. So Paul had us on the and I thought, where's that melody from? I go, oh, Wild World. And I say, what we could do a cover of Wild World. So we listened to it. It's funny, we actually go back and listen to it. It's a funny recording. The drums are kind of hitting a little bit. There's not a straight out drum beat in it at all.
Right.
And it's, kind of scattered sounds. So we changed the key because it was a little too low for Eric to sing.
Okay.
Changed the key and just gave it a regular drum beat and bang, that we did great with it. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I love that version. So now, more recently though, the band's still obviously not right now during COVID and all that, but the band was still touring and active. Is that correct?
Yeah. Sadly, we as you probably know, we lost our drummer a few years back.
Yeah. We had shows booked, and we used the drummer that we were using with him, Matt Starr, great drummer, wonderful guy, because Pat just couldn't play the kid anymore, so he would be there with percussion and sing, and Matt would play drums. So then when we lost Pat, we went out and did shows with Matt. It was great, it was cool, but it was just a little bit too much for us to deal with, because Pat was, we were very much like brothers with Pat and all of us together. So we decided to knock it off. We'll probably go out and do more again at some point. I'm not sure in what configuration, but we're all still good friends, and we all still love the band, and we also grateful to the fans. So we'll probably do something at some point. Right, and that's what I know Matt Starr is currently, again, when there is touring, playing with Ace Frehley. So I was going to ask you if he would be playing with you guys as well.
I'm not sure, but Matt's still a dear friend, and we message each other back and forth a lot. A great player, a wonderful guy.
Awesome. And then now, fast forward again into more recent times, you hit the jackpot a third time with the Winery Dogs, right? So talk about that, how that band come about, and talk about that experience. Well,
my big three records are Eat 'Em and Smile, Lean Into It, and the first Winery Dogs record.
Yep, absolutely.
And for me, those are the big three. I'm so grateful. Mike and I were going to do a band, and he was talking with John Sykes, but it was kind of going slow and wasn't working. And so Mike said, "Well, let's move on." Any guitar players are singing. I don't know why I didn't think of Richie, because Richie's one of my best buddies.
Okay.
I supreme talent. I love his playing, love his singing, and songwriting and everything. And his name just didn't come to my mind. And then Eddie Trunk chimed in. What about Richie Costa? I said, of course. And so we went over there, and some people incorrectly think that there was a band, and then Richie replaced John Sykes. Had nothing. There was no connection in any way whatsoever. Me and Mike wanted a band, and we got Richie. God bless John. He's an amazing player, wonderful guy, but there was no, that didn't happen. I said that in comments sometimes. I just clarified. Supreme talent John is, and I wish him nothing but the best. He's a good guy. But there was no connection between the two. So we sat down, and Richie has a drum kit set up in the studio because he plays drums too. Mike jumped behind there, we started within a couple of days. We had most of that record done.
Nice.
As far as writing,
mm-hmm.
And when it happens like that, very much like Eat 'Em and Smile,
mm-hmm.
very much like the Mr. Big Stuff, when it kind of automatic things just fall together,
mm-hmm.
that's a good sign.
Right.
And I remember when that record came out, because when you have a record come out and you play it for your friends, sometimes you don't. It's like,
okay.
Problems with the record, it's not quite right. And I say, oh, how's that new record? That's cool. Oh, check out this Beatle bootleg I got. But I was saying, wait, you got to hear this. Check this out.
Mm-hmm.
I put Winery Dogs on. People are, holy cow.
Mm-hmm.
And we just did right out of the gate, did great business, and people were so kind to us. Eddie Trunk, we owe him such a great thanks for him promoting us and helping us out. And a long, long list of other people. And again, we got another great manager, Tim Heine is his name. He's in L.A. And he just did a fantastic job keeping things together and making things work and getting us great deals. And so that was a cool thing.
Right.
So we did a second record, and people are thinking, oh, it looks like good to, you got to watch that second record. We did great. Second record was fantastic.
Yeah.
And so we will do another one relatively soon.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So you just mentioned you have your big three, but if you're sitting at home at night and you could only put on one record, which one do you choose?
Of mine?
Yeah, of yours.
Oh man, probably none.
None.
Nothing of mine.
So then, what would you put on?
I'd put on Humble Pie, Smoking.
Mm-hmm.
That's a go-to.
Mm-hmm.
Grand Funk Railroad, Closer to Home.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of esoteric weird stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have a huge collection of iTunes. It's over 2 terabytes.
Oh, wow.
And in it, I have a very broad and chaotic collection of stuff. I have the standard things, everything by Bowie, including all bootlegs, alternate takes of almost every song he's ever done, everything by Hendrix, everything by the Beatles, everything by the Stones, everybody that, all these bands that are the big ones. I've got all of that. But then I've got a lot of amazing and unusual stuff, and I go full spectrum. Some of the most amazing music you have ever heard in your life, I've got some stuff to play for you that'll blow your mind.
That's awesome.
And I also have some of the most horrible, dreadful, awful catastrophes. So I kind of go between the two. And some of the catastrophes are so bad that they're good.
Right, of course. Of course, absolutely.
It's such a train wreck that it's great. One particular guy, Wesley Willis.
Okay.
You know who that is?
No, the name's not ringing a bell.
He was a idiot savant in Chicago.
Okay.
This gentleman, he was kind of a homeless guy, but he just had a way when he got together. There was a little MIDI keyboard and sang these crazy songs with the stock MIDI pre-programmed music. When you buy the thing at Guitar Center that it comes with, and it's the most touching, cool stuff. And he turns out to be a brilliant genius. He would look out the window of a hotel and take 2 pencils, use one as a ruler and the other one, and he would draw by memory exactly what he saw in perfect detail, and even remembering the license numbers on the cars that he saw.
Oh, wow.
So he was quite a phenomenon of nature. And but his stuff is hilarious. So all the way, the full spectrum of stuff. So when I'm sitting home alone, I'll generally put stuff on that we have an iTunes night. Usually includes some vino and people coming over, and we sit down here and I start playing stuff, and it turns into what a amazing night. We just go through the highest emotions you could imagine. It's pretty incredible. So at some point I should do some DJing and do a show like that. Amazing nights with that.
That's very cool. Is there, so you've been to, you've played a who's who in rock, right? You've played with so many different people. Is there anybody you say, I've never got a chance to play with person X and I'd really love to at one point, live or in the studio?
Well, I would have loved to have been the bass and drums for the Who, me and Mike Portnoy. That would have been a blast, because he's a total Keith Moon fanatic.
Sure.
And he already knows every song they've ever done.
Okay.
And I'm a huge John Entwistle fan, and I know pretty much every song they've ever done. So I would have loved to have done that. Unfortunately, it never came to be. There's a lot of... I've been lucky to play with a lot of people, and but I don't look back and with sadness that I didn't play with one or
Of
the
course,
other.
yeah.
You know, it's an interesting thing. I've been lucky to play with a lot of great guys, so
Absolutely.
I'm very thankful.
Awesome. So you said at the start of this that the Talas album, a few more weeks, you think you'll have it ready. We're not sure yet when it's going to be released, right? Is that correct?
No, we don't know yet. It's going to be on Metal Blade. They were kind enough to give us a deal, and then up the deal later a little bit more. So we're in good hands now. We can pay the bills and get the record done. So that's good. I'm also working on a record by a songwriter named John Statham.
Okay.
And he's a little bit more. I'm not a country guy. I
Okay.
live in Nashville now.
Not a country. Well, Nashville's now a rock and roll city, also.
Yeah, it's not country anymore. But I some of it I like. I like the Johnny Cash that one record that he did with Rick Rubin, I think it was.
Okay.
Pretty amazing. Old school stuff once in a while I like, but this guy's got a little tinge of countrified in his writing and singing. Okay. But it is great. The story songs bring my wife to tears a couple times. He's a great songwriter. Myself and Ray Lugier, we have a production company here, and we did a record with him. Another record with a solo guitarist. Me and Ray are also working on. I forget now, but there's a bunch of other records that we're doing. So there'll be a lot of stuff coming out.
That's awesome. And then I know you said there'd be another Winery Dogs album. Is that a couple of years down the road, a couple of months down the road?
We were planning on doing it. This whole year was supposed to be Richie's 50th anniversary, 50th birthday tour, and Sons of Apollo tour.
Okay.
So, but of course, the virus had other ideas.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So both of those got canceled. But we were expecting at the end of this year to begin writing the next Winery Dogs record. We still probably will do just that.
Very good.
So that was the plan all along. So we're going to continue full speed ahead. We can't perform, but at least we can get the songs written and get it done. And I'm kind of glad that we didn't, again, fall into that pattern like I talked about earlier, where quick, do an album, then do a tour, and then do another, do a tour. So after the second record and second tour with Winery Dogs, Richie went back to do some solo stuff. I did a whole bunch of things, and Sons of Apollo as well. So now we come back together again. We got a lot of new, fresh ideas. We have been slugging it out nonstop for year after year after year.
Sure.
And that's why I think the first record, and to some degree the second record, were successful, the Winery Dogs, because we had a lot of ideas that we gained from living life and playing and doing everything on our own, away from each other, come back together, got a fresh start again. So I'm excited about the writing for the new Winery Dogs record.
Absolutely. And I know the fans are going to be excited to hear that there's going to be another album, because like you said before, that band was embraced, loved. Eddie Trunk plugged it all the time. Rock fans, well, you know, I go on the Kiss cruise on an annual basis, and I can tell you, so many people kept saying Winery Dogs have to be on the cruise with Kiss. That band name came up every year. Why aren't the Winery Dogs on the cruise? So hey, maybe one year.
Absolutely. Well, we did a couple of cruises. I think
the Monsters of Rock, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
But we plan on going out and just playing everywhere that'll have us, you know.
Nice.
So it's an easy band to tour because there's only 3 guys.
Sure.
Man, it makes life easier. You add just one more guy, and it starts to get way more complicated. 2 more, and it'll pull your hair out. It's great. So it's actually quite easy to tour, and we do enjoy it, and it's a fun time. And we're in a situation now too where we don't have to go out and do a grueling, hard tour. We're in a situation where we can, take a night off occasionally and not have to just pound it. Because you first begin with almost any band, no matter who you are, there's a lot of work to do. Sons of Apollo went out our first tour. Man, it was grueling. It was tough, but we made our mark. Second record came back. We did good with it. So we were in good position, and it got great reviews. Unfortunately, we had the whole pandemic nonsense, so we unfortunately had to stop that after 4 shows.
Well, hopefully next year things could pick back up, right? I mean, I know some bands are starting to. I think Night Range is doing like a drive-in concert next month. So cool. Maybe that'll be the new thing. Bands will start doing drive-in concerts.
Yeah, might be cool.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to let the fans know about that you're working on? Anything else you wanted to cover?
Well, just they're in my heart and mind always. I'm writing and working on songs and working on things. Been practicing bass a lot, and I'm never home.
Really?
And we bought a home in Nashville for the first 6 months of owning it, I wasn't even here. You know, I was on tour the whole time, so I came back to it. So it's nice to be here. It's a wonderful place. But I also now I'm lucky to have all my instruments here. Before in LA, my house was much smaller, and most of my stuff was in storage. So I got all my instruments here, my studio's here, everything's here. So we're getting a lot done. I'm practicing, I'm learning a lot of new stuff on bass, writing a lot, and all kinds of things. So I think a lot of musicians are doing just that too. So I think we're going to see a little bit of a burst of creativity come out when all this goes away, hopefully soon, and hopefully with a lot of people's health restored.
Well, I think the most amazing thing what you just said is that after all these years, I still consider you one of the best bass players ever in rock, and you're still learning and still practicing. I just find those comments amazing, absolutely amazing.
Well, that's very kind again, but you really there's so every time you reach a spot, you can only see that there's more you got to learn, and I see musicians and players in different styles and genres that are just so amazing. I think to myself, who am I kidding? Who am I trying to fool?
Oh, what? Man.
But because there's no end to how much you can learn and how much better you could be. And it doesn't mean faster, more licks. It means there's all kinds of ways to improve your timing and your songwriting understanding and lyrics and all kinds of things. They're all skills and all skills can be improved, you know. So I work hard at that.
Absolutely. You know, last question then. I just thought of this. Do you have a favorite bass player?
Oh, it's hard to say because it's a long list. One of my biggest influences was Tim Bogert in the Vanilla Fudge, Bogert and Appice. But Paul McCartney also was the guy. Paul Samwell-Smith from the Yardbirds, Entwistle, Jack Bruce, Jocko Stanley, Jack Cassidy.
Okay.
A lot of great players when I grew up. So I was fortunate to grow up. I'm glad I'm an old guy because I got to. my first concert was Jimi Hendrix.
Nice.
So I'm
great
glad
first
I'm
concert.
old enough to have been there when the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan and all the explosion of bands and all these musicians and see the genres change from pop and I Want to Hold Your Hand to you know, darker and heavier and all the changes all music went through. So it was quite an amazing journey. I'm glad to have been as old as I am to have experienced that.
Absolutely.
And I believe it's impacted me in a positive way.
Awesome. Well, Billy, I want to thank you for taking the time to chat today about everything in your career. I can tell you as a fan, I'm looking forward to the new albums. Certainly we'll be keeping an eye online. I'll certainly let the fans know when they're getting released. And again, just thank you so much for your time today.
It's absolutely my pleasure, Mike. And thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Billy. Take it easy. Stay safe and hope to see you on the road soon.
Very soon. Thank you, Mike.
Right. Thank you, Billy. Take it easy.
Take care, man.
Bye. Alrighty, there you have it. I'd like to thank Billy Sheehan for taking an hour with me to talk about everything going on in his world. I know I speak for a lot of fans that we're looking forward to the Talas album, as well as a potential for another Winery Dogs album. I could also say, hopefully David Lee Roth picks up the phone and calls you, as I know lots of fans would love to see and love to hear the classic era David Lee Roth band perform one more time. Once again, Billy, thanks so much for a great conversation. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening. See you next time.